What is good, you guys? Welcome back to the report. Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the first edition of my mock draft for the 2022 NBA draft. Now this is not just going to be Heat, this is going to be the whole first round. So fans of other teams, man, feel free to leave your opinions down in the comment section below. I want to do one of these, probably three editions of these mock drafts. This is my first one. I'm a big college hoops head. I love college hoops. I love college basketball. And I'm just here to kind of educate you guys on the prospects if you guys are not too familiar with them, and also give you guys a scenario of who could take who. So how I did it is that the lottery, I use tankathon.com. It's a very good website if you want to simulate a lottery, random lottery, or do whatever. And I use their simulation, and as you guys can see here, the San Antonio Spurs jumped up 6 spots and ended up with the #1 overall pick. So that's the order we're going to be using after the lottery. The order is not going to change because it's not randomized. So from 15 to 30, it's all going to be dependent on the record today. So this is all based off of the records as far as what they are as on January 17th, because that's when I'm recording this video. So that's how this works. And yeah, let's get right into it. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Without further ado, the San Antonio Spurs are on the clock. I think there's 3 consensus top 3 prospects in this draft. For the Spurs, I'm gonna go Chet Holmgren. You know, I wouldn't be mad if you took anyone else, but I think the Spurs have been looking for that center. I know Jakob Poeltl has been playing pretty well this season, but I don't think he's part of their future. He's not old, but he's not young, so he's kind of in that, you know, he's over 25 but less than 30, in that boat. But I like Keldon Johnson as their 4. DeJounte has been playing really well. He should be in all-star considerations. They just drafted Josh Primo last year. Devin Vassell has been, you know, very underrated. I think he's one of my favorite players to watch. I think they're missing that man in the middle. Although Chet Holmgren is classified as a power forward from a lot of outlets, I do think he can play that 5 position. He just has to put on some more muscle. He's very, very skinny, but as far as his height, and his skill set, he is a center in my opinion. Very good defensively. You know, obviously from Gonzaga. And yeah, that is my #1 overall pick. At number 2, we have the Houston Rockets, and here I have them taking who I believe is the best player in the draft, and who I've been on this guy's bandwagon for months now. Jabari Smith Jr. goes to the Rockets, man. I think he's an absolute stud. I think he's really, really good. You know, as far as the comparison, it's very hard to tell, but you know, as far as his skill set, this guy can stretch the floor at a high level. He's shooting 45% plus from 3 this season at Auburn. Defensively, he can guard a lot of positions, not just 4s, but he can switch on to 5s at times. He can also guard 3s at times. He's just a unicorn in my opinion. He's like, he can put the ball on the floor as well, bring the ball up the court at times. Like he's just so multifaceted, so skilled. Probably like a Christian Wood of right now. I would say is, you know, coming into the draft, he probably projects to be what Christian Wood is right now in his rookie season. Think about that. We all know Christian Wood is really, really good, really solid at least. Even if he's not like an all-star, he's still a very, very solid player. And if Jabari Smith is Christian Wood right now, imagine what he's going to be in the future. So that's what I think Jabari Smith projects to be. And then at number 3, Detroit, you know, they're either way, they're winners because they're going to get one of these 3 guys. If not Chet, if not Jabari, Paolo Banchero is the other guy, you know, in this top 3. This is the consensus top 3. I haven't really seen any movement between any other mock drafts or scouts projecting big boards and all that. It's been these 3 in whatever order that people, you know, want. Paolo Banchero to Detroit, I think, is a W, man. He's a very, very polished scorer, man. He can score at the mid-range area very, very easily, very crafty as far as finishing at the rim. He's 6'10", but he moves like he's not 6'10". He reminds me a lot of Michael Beasley at Kansas State. Michael Beasley is a bucket, and Paolo Banchero has the tools to be one of the best scorers in this draft. Defensively, he could use a little bit of work in my opinion, but he's shown a little bit of flashes there. But I think his scoring output is just ridiculous. I like him a lot, man. I think he's going to be really good. So Detroit has one right there at number 3. At number 4, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now this is interesting. This is where it gets interesting. You know, obviously the next prospect, as far as a lot of big boards, we're all guards. Like, You know, you had your Jaden Ivies and all that, but it wouldn't really make sense for the Thunder to take him because, you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey are their futures. Shai's been, you know, phenomenal for them, and Josh Giddey is a candidate. He's top 5 or top 6 in Rookie of the Year. He's been playing amazingly. So I'm going to go with the center for them. I'm going to go with Jalen Duren out of Memphis. Jalen Duren is a man-child, man. He's a problem down low. He's a guy that I compare to Bam in a sense because he's very good defensively, not just at rim protection. A lot of people just look at him as a shot blocker, but he's had a lot of stretches where he switched onto guards and contained them. And he's a guy that, you know, he's a very underrated passer out of the elbow, similar to how Bam is. I think he's gonna be really, really good. There's just the thing about him is he'll need a point guard, you know, who's willing to pass to get him into his offense. And I think that Oklahoma City has the perfect guards to do that. Josh Giddey is a more than willing passer, as we all know, and Shai can open him or get him open looks as well with the gravity that he draws. So Jalen Duren, I think, is going to be amazing, man. I think he's really, really good. I think OKC's front court is a little bit thin as well. They don't really have anyone. Derek Favors is their starting center. He doesn't really fit their timeline. And then Robinson Earl has started there as well sometimes. So I think we got to go with Jalen Duren here, just because of the fit and also because he's really, really good. At number 5, the Orlando Magic fall down from number 1 with the worst record in the NBA, which is tough for them, but they're still in a pretty solid spot. There are a lot of good options here. I'm not going to go with a guard. I'm going to go with AJ Griffin out of Duke. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. Him, Jabari Smith, and we'll get to the other 3. But those 2, Jalen Duren also is one of my favorites in this draft as well. But he is AJ Griffin is really, really solid, man. He's one of the purest scorers in this draft as far as getting to his spots. He's gotten a lot of Jimmy Butler comparisons. I can see it, man. He's a mid-range killer. He's very good from that mid-range, mid-post area as far as stepping back. He loves that step back. When he gets to the right, when he drives right, he loves stepping backs. He sort of like how Jimmy loves to take the step back shot at times. And he's also a very good defender as well. The only thing that I don't see in his game that maybe he can develop, that Jimmy Butler is one of the best at right now, is his passing. But apart from that, he has a lot of Jimmy in him. He does have a lot of Jimmy in him. And if you can get a guy like that, like, you know, the Magic don't really need a guard because they have, you just drafted Jalen Suggs last year, Cole Anthony. I think they're set on guards. I think they're set on guards for the foreseeable future. And I don't think you need to mess that up. So I think AJ Griffin is he's a wing player that can help them, you know, with Franz Wagner, put him in that mix, and I think they'll be solid. At number 6, we have the Indiana Pacers. I think this is perfect for them, man. I'm gonna have them taking Jaden Ivey out of Purdue. I just watched Jaden Ivey today. He's a stud. He's a really, 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 really good player. Reminds me a lot of Victor Oladipo coming out of college. Jaden Ivey is a extremely tremendous athlete. You know, when he's driving to the rim, you can't stop him. He has that John Morant type of Russell Westbrook, like just go. Like when he's in transition, you cannot stop Jaden Ivey. He's that athletic. The 3-point shot, he's an okay catch and shoot player. Off the dribble is a little bit, you know, funky, but catch and shoot, he's developing that into his game. But athleticism is off the charts. And I think Jaden Ivey going to Indiana is really, really good for them because he's an Indiana kid. He grew up there. He's going to Purdue. He's right down the street from the Pacers. So I think this is just a match made in heaven for Indiana and for Jaden Ivey. Indiana was the team with the worst attendance in the NBA, and they could use a guy like Jaden Ivey to put people in their seats. So not only that, I don't see them drafting a front court player because they're just loaded in that position. They have to figure out what they're doing with Miles Turner and Karis LeVert and all of them. But I think Jaden Ivey in their backcourt is going to be a cornerstone for their franchise for the future. Next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. Now they're going to take this guy who I think is one of the candidates for the National Player of the Year this season. Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin has been playing tremendous basketball, and he's a guy that is a guard that can really, really help them, man. I think that, you know, he's too good to pass up on. The Pelicans, with the Zion situation, whenever he comes back, they have him and Ingram, you know, who I think they're probably going to keep for the foreseeable future. I like Valanciunas. He's very underrated. They don't really have those guards. Devontae Graham is there, but like a lot of these other guys, Devontae Graham He's not young, but he's not old, but he's not young. So it's tough with him. And then the starting shooting guard, I expected Nickeil Alexander-Walker to take a jump this season, but he hasn't. So Johnny Davis really just fits in with that team. And I think that, he's been playing tremendous basketball this year, and he can definitely fit in as a guard in their lineup. At number 8, we have the Sacramento Kings. I'm going to have him here taking Keegan Murray, a stretch 4 out of Iowa. Keegan Murray has been shooting the ball exceptionally well this season. Defensively, he does have some concerns, but, assuming that they, I don't know what their situation is with Fox and Halliburton, if they're going to keep both of them, but assuming that they do, Fox, driving to the lane and kicking it out to Keegan Murray can really help the three-point shooting. He's a very skilled scorer, man. He's a wing player slash power forward, and I think he can really help their team. So yeah, Keegan Murray for me with the Sacramento Kings. Hopefully they get rid of Harrison Barnes, and hopefully Harrison Barnes goes to a contender, because I don't want to see him on the Sacramento Kings anymore. And Keegan Murray can slide into that spot. At number 9, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Here I'm going to have him taking Jaden Hardy, probably the most pure scorer in this draft. Plays for the G League Ignite. He's been pretty inefficient so far this season. Mostly, in the beginning, he's kind of come into his own. The game is slowed down for him a little bit, but I just think that he's too good to pass up on if you're the Hawks, man. The Hawks, they have 2 first-round picks in this draft, the Charlotte pick and their pick. They got the Charlotte pick obviously from the Cam Reddish deal, but I think that with this pick they got to go Jaden Hardy. You cannot leave a guy like him on the board for too long, because he's a guy that if you put him alongside Trae Young, he can play off the ball. He's a pretty good shooter, and I think that that backcourt is stellar. That backcourt is one for the future. So Jaden Hardy, I'm gonna go with Jaden Hardy for Atlanta. At number 10, another one of my favorites, Bennedict Mathurin goes to the Portland Trailblazers. He's just a very high IQ player. He was labeled as a spot-up shooter last year as a freshman when he was at Arizona. This year, he's taken that leap as a sophomore at Arizona. He's more of a 3-and-D player, but also he's shown a lot of signs and flashes off the dribble. I kind of compare him to like a Jaylen Brown type. Not now, obviously, but I think he could be in that same mold. He has a lot of Jaylen Brown in him. He's sneaky athletic, in my opinion, and he's a mid-range killer. He's very skilled, and he's a lot more efficient than Jaylen Brown is right now. So I would definitely go with Bennedict Mathurin, a high IQ player. If they bring Dame back, they're not trading Dame. You have Dame, and then CJ or Anthony Simons, whoever you want. And then that 3 position, I think Norman Powell, if he's there, he's there. He just signed an extension, but he's very undersized, man. I like Norman Powell a lot better as a shooting guard or as a 6th man. I do not like him as a small forward, because defensively, you have 3 guys who are 6'3" on that team, and that's just a recipe for disaster. As we all know, they're the worst defensive team this season. It's not even close. So Bennedict Mathurin definitely improves that. So I'm going to go with him for the Portland Trailblazers. At number 11, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who got the Clippers pick, and the Thunder will select Patrick Baldwin Jr. here. Patrick Baldwin Jr. He's from the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, not Madison, and he's playing for his dad right now. He's not having the greatest start to the season. He's doing a lot more things that he's not used to, not comfortable with. But I think he's a tough shot maker. He's a tough shot taker. He likes off the dribble shots. He's not really, athletic whatsoever, but he relies on his long frame to shoot over people. He reminds me a lot of like a Michael Porter Jr., that type of player. He's in that type of mold. I think OKC could really bring the best out of him. They have nothing but time over there. They're rebuilding. I think Patrick Baldwin would fit well on their team, especially after drafting a big. None of the guards here are worth taking when you already have Shea and Giddey. You got to go wing, and I think the best one available is Patrick Baldwin Jr. Out of Milwaukee. At number 12, Boston Celtics, who have had a disappointing season so far. They need a point guard, man. You need a playmaker. You need a guy who's going to facilitate the ball. Their team's turnovers to assist ratio is terrible. you got to go Ty Washington. Ty Washington just had a game where he had 17 assists out of Kentucky. He's a Kentucky guy. Kentucky guys are used to sacrificing. So we all know that there's some part of his game that has not been tapped into yet, or some part of his game that we've not seen yet. Because when you go to Kentucky, as we've all seen with Hero, Bam as Heat fans, we've all seen with guys like, you know, Julius Randle, we've seen with guys like Jamal Murray, we've seen with Anthony, like there's so many guys. When you go to Kentucky, you do not play, you know, you do not get in your bag. You kind of do stuff to help the team win. And sometimes that means sacrificing, you know, showing off some of your talent and skill set. And we all know Ty Washington, we've seen his playmaking ability, but maybe he has another gear you can go to. And when you put him, I could just imagine him, you know, spoon feeding Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And that just brings a really good dynamic for them. So I have Ty Washington going to the Boston Celtics. At number 13, the Washington Wizards. I'm going to have a point guard for the Wizards as well. I think Dinwiddie is solid. They have to make a decision about what they're doing with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has openly said he's not signing the extension yet because he wants to see what this team is going to do. But assuming he does or does not sign the extension, I'm not convinced with Spencer Dinwiddie. He hasn't been that good this season. So I think we have to select a point guard here for them. And I think Kennedy Chandler is the perfect option. Reminds me a lot of Darius Garland. He's undersized, but he plays a lot bigger than what he is. He's a very, very good playmaker as well. I think he can really get guys like Beal, Kuzma, Hachimura, and even, you know, Montrezl Harrell and Daniel Gafford into their offense. And I think that, you know, the Wizards really need a point guard. I think they need a facilitator similar to the Celtics. So because Dinwiddie's a scorer, Beal is a scorer, they don't really have a guy who's gonna, you know, get the guys involved that much. And Kennedy Chandler could be that guy out of Tennessee. So Kennedy Chandler is going to be the 13th pick. And lastly, with the New York Knicks, another point guard is going to go off the board because the Knicks, man, I don't think the Knicks have like a future starting point guard. RJ Barrett is there too, obviously. They just traded for Cam Reddish, Julius Randle they have, and obviously they have your Mitchell Robinsons, Obi Toppins, Nerlens Noels, Quentin Grimes. Miles McGrath is like their youngest point guard because they have Alec Burks and Derrick Rose as their point guards. I think they got to go with another point guard here. I'm gonna go with John Montero. He's French if I'm not mistaken, and he's playing overseas. He's a very high IQ point guard, very crafty. Another guy who's undersized but plays a lot smarter, you know, for his size than a lot of other people that same size do. You know, a lot of people. He's very small, but I think that the thing about him is that he's so crafty that I don't think it really hinders him. He just has such a high IQ, and I think that the Knicks could really use a guy like him to get people into, you know, into sets. I really like John Montero, man. I think he's going to be really, really good. So I think he's a perfect fit with New York. And now we go to the last half of the NBA draft. So we're done with the lottery. The 15th pick to 30th pick is all set, not randomized. Memphis Grizzlies will get the 15th pick from the Los Angeles Lakers. And they're going to select Kendall Brown here. They need a wing because Dillon Brooks' injury. We don't know the status of that. I think Kyle Anderson is leaving this free agency. I've said that so many times. I think he's gone. He's on the last year of his contract. I think he's going to ask for more money than the Grizzlies are going to pay him. I think he's going to leave in free agency. And then I'm pretty sure DeAnthony Melton might be a free agent if I'm not mistaken. I just think they need a wing player more than anything. A 2/3, wherever you play Desmond Bane. And I think that Kendall Brown, he's a very good defender. He's a very good athlete. He's just not as aggressive as you would like him to be. If he had the confidence in some of these other guys in a shot, then he would be a lot higher. But I just think he's a Swiss Army knife. The Grizzlies could definitely use a guy like that. He fits their, you know, hustle. And yeah, out of Baylor, I'm going to select Kendall Brown, small forward. At the 16th pick, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves have to go defense here, man. I think they have good offensive pieces in Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns. I'm going to go Dyson Daniels, who's a point guard / shooting guard from the G League. He's a defensive first guard. And I think, you know, the addition of Patrick Beverley has really helped this team, in my opinion. The only problem is that he's not a long-term solution, as he's already 33, turning 34 by the time this draft is even going to take place. And I think Dyson Daniels could be a guy that, if they do trade D'Angelo Russell, you could just replace him into that lineup. And I think that he's just a very good defensive-minded guard. He can get people involved, but he's also shown flashes of scoring and shooting the ball. So that's a good pick for them, in my opinion. At 17, the Denver Nuggets are on the clock. I'm going to have them taking a 3-and-D player. They love taking these guys. They love taking the guys who are just steals and who no one takes, like the Michael Porter Jr.'s who fell because of his injury, or the Bol Bols who fell because of his injury. I'm going to have them taking Ochai Agbaji from Kansas. Very good 3-and-D player. Reminds me a lot of like Mikal Bridges, but a little bit undersized because he's only like 6'5". Mikal Bridges is like 6'7", 6'8", and he's a lot longer than Agbaji. But Ochai Agbaji is a very, very good defender. He's a very good shooter. I think he fits right in there with Jokic, with Jamal Murray whenever he's back, Michael Porter Jr. I think he can be their Will Barton replacement whenever Will Barton leaves, because he kind of just fits in that same mold, in my opinion. I really like him a lot, man. I think he could be a solid piece for a contender, and the Nuggets are looking to contend next year, so they could definitely use a guy like him. At 18, we have the Toronto Raptors. Now, I do have a couple of friends who are Toronto Raptors fans, and I asked them, what do you guys think you guys need? Because their roster it's just full of wing players. They don't really have, like, obviously Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, but apart from that, you have your Gary Trents, your OG Anunobys, Scotty Barnes. A lot of them were talking about needing a backup point guard, or even like a starting point guard if you move Freddie back to the 2. So I'm going to have them taking J.D. Davison, who's like the last remaining point guard who's worth taking. He's from Alabama. I'm not as high on J.D. Davison as a lot of people are. I think he's very turnover prone, but he's just a very high athlete. His athleticism is off the charts for J.D. Davison. If you guys watched that Auburn-Alabama game, he was just dunking on people. So the Raptors are a team that they can discipline him by, you know, coaching him and developing him the right way. He'll have to develop a consistent jump shot, but attacking the rim, he's already got that. So I think, you know, if you need a point guard, he's the best available right now. You got to go J.D. Davison out of Bama. And number 19, the Atlanta Hawks are back on the clock. I did say they have 2 picks. I took a scorer with them. I took Jaden Hardy with their first pick. I'm gonna take Tari Eason out of LSU. He's a long forward who can defend at a high level. Very right hand dominant. Doesn't really use his left hand that much, but I think it doesn't really matter. He'll develop his left hand, but I think that his right hand is so good that, you know, when he gets that right hand driving to the lane, you cannot really stop him. He's one of the best defenders in this draft. He's definitely a dog, man. The Hawks really lack defense right now. You know, DeAndre Hunter is really their only good defender on the wing, because they just lost Cam Reddish, who wasn't even playing that well defensively this season. Bogdanovich is not a good defender. Herter is not a good defender. Gallinari is not a good defender. Their only other good defenders are down low in Capella and Okongwu, and DeLon Wright, who's a guard. So you got to take a defender at the wing position here. I'm going to take Tari Eason out of LSU. He's a dog, man. He's going to be pretty good. The Mavericks are at 20, and you know the Mavericks love their international prospects. We got to go with Nikola Jovic here. Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, Jovic. He's another guy who's an international prospect, and I think that, you know, he could just be a guy like, he's very similar to Pokusevski when Pokusevski was coming into the draft. They were kind of like those guys who were like the unicorns of the international game, very skilled but very raw. And the Mavericks, I think, you know, he's already a very good shooter. Defensively, there's major concerns with him. He's not a good defender at all, but his shooting ability, his shot creation ability that he's shown, even his playmaking ability, is very, very, you know, good as far as his potential is concerned. I think he'll fit well alongside Luka as a shooter. Yeah, we're gonna go Jovic here with the Mavericks, and I think they would love that. At 21, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to go with another guard here. I'm going to go with Trevor Keels out of Duke. Trevor Keels is a guy who can play the 2 for them. Very reminiscent of like a Marcus Smart type player, in my opinion, without like the flopping and all that. And probably without like a little bit of the playmaking as well. Defensively, he just gets after you. He's a big, physical, strong-bodied guard. He can definitely catch and shoot, even sometimes create off the dribble. And I think Trevor Keels would fit really good in Cleveland because he could play next to Darius Garland. I'm assuming they're moving on from Sexton because First of all, he's injured. Second of all, they were not trying to extend him. And third of all, I just think that they play better without him. So no disrespect to Colin Sexton, I just think that the Cavs play better without him. But Trevor Keels, I think, would fit really well next to Darius Garland in that backcourt for the future. He's very young. He's only like 18 or 19. So yeah, his hype has died down a little bit after the first couple of games of the college season. But I think that Trevor Keels can be really, really solid, man. I think the Cavs would love a player like him. At number 22, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. We got to get a shooter for them, man. I'm going to take Max Christie out of Michigan State, one of the best shooters in this draft. Hasn't had the best start this season, but we all know, whoever watches Max Christie knows he can shoot the ball. And the Sixers need perimeter shooting. That's what they've always needed. Even if they trade Ben Simmons and get like a De'Aaron Fox, they'll still need perimeter shooting around Fox, because Fox is not like a really good three-point shooter either. And Joel Embiid could definitely use three-point shooters around him as well. So Max Christie, I think, will be perfect on a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. And yeah, they would love a guy like him. At number 23, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to have him taking Wendell Moore out of Duke, very similar to like a Josh Richardson type player coming out of Tennessee. I think he's good, man. I think his playmaking is very underrated. He's a very good player in the mid-range area. He can create his own shot. He's sneaky athletic, in my opinion. I just think he's like an all-around player that you can plug and play. And I think that the Bucks, who are going to be contenders next year, need a guy like that they can just play. He's not raw. He's NBA ready. He can do a lot of things that can help a team to win right now. So he would make a lot of sense for Milwaukee, in my opinion. So I have him at 23. At number 24, the Houston Rockets are going to be taking MarJon Beauchamp from the G League Ignite. One of my favorites in this draft as well, man. He just does whatever it takes to win. He's just a very, very gritty player. He's tough. He loves, he's very athletic, but he loves that pull-up mid-range shot. His three-point shooting is not good, though. He's only shooting like 20-something% from three. He definitely has to get that up, because we had the Rockets taking Jabari, so I thought it was good for them to take a guard here. Maybe a guy that can play alongside Jalen Green. He can be like a small forward for them. He's 6'7", he's long, he's athletic. He'll definitely have to improve that three-point shot, though, for sure, because he's not a good three-point shooter, and that's his like biggest weakness that's holding him back. But if he gets that three-point shot straightened, then he has one of the highest potentials of these late-round guys. So he's going at my 24. At number 25 with the Miami Heat, I have him taking Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor. His name is spelled Jeremy Sochan, but it's Jeremy Sohan or Sohan. He's a British player. He's from England. He plays for the Polish national team because his mom is Polish, but he's lived in England for the past I think since he was 2 or 3. So yeah, he is just a guy that I think he's one of the best defenders in this class. He's a long, athletic power forward. He can also catch and shoot. He's like a 3-and-D power forward, 6'10". The Heat have been trying to find a guy who can permanently play next to Bam. PJ Tucker is 36, and he's on a 2-year contract. So after he leaves, I think he's a guy that Jeremy is a guy that you can put alongside Bam, and he can fit well next to him because he stretches the floor coming out of Baylor. So and he plays really good defense. Eric Spoelstra will love a guy like him coaching Jeremy Sohan, because he plays hard and he plays to win, and he plays Heat culture basketball. So I think he would definitely fit really well next to Bam and with the Miami Heat. At 26, we have the Chicago Bulls taking Mark Williams out of Duke. Sorry, I think Mark Williams is probably the only guy worth taking for them right now. They need a big desperately to rebound the ball. They don't really have that. Vucevic, apart from Vucevic, like their center position is so lacking. And even this season, Vucevic has not been the best. But you can also play Mark Williams a little bit at that small ball forward, because he's not a 7-footer. He's like 6'10", but he just provides a lot of energy for them that they would love. So I think that this is the only logical pick that makes sense for the Bulls. They need front court depth, and Mark Williams does provide that. Next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies having back-to-back picks. I'm going to have them taking both Blake Wesley as well as EJ Liddell. Blake Wesley from Notre Dame and EJ Liddell from Ohio State, both in the Big Ten. Blake Wesley Blake Wesley's a very polished scorer, man. He reminds me a lot of Tyler Hero. I think you see a lot of Tyler Hero in him, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Hero, but just like the way he plays, it's very similar with that swagger, the confidence, as well as the shot making. AJ Liddell is like he's like a bulldog. He's very undersized for like he's not like super undersized, but he is undersized for his position as a big guy, and but he plays a lot bigger than his size. Kind of reminds me of like a Walmart PJ Tucker a little bit. I think that would be like a accurate comparison if he's able to get that 3-point shot, as polished as PJ Tucker. But as far as the hustle, the defensive play, I think he would definitely fit the Memphis, grit and grind hustle. He would definitely fit that, that theme. So Blake Wesley and EJ Liddell are the 2 picks for the Grizzlies here. And now we're down to the last 2 picks. The Warriors are going to be selecting Julian Champagnie out of St. John's. He's a bucket. He's just a very good scorer. He's the brother of Justin Champagnie on the Toronto Raptors right now, and he's just a guy that can score the ball, in a hurry. And I think that if you let a guy like the Warriors get him, they're going to be really solid, because he's just a guy that he's ready. He's NBA ready. He doesn't need time to adjust, and that's what these contenders want. They want guys that you can put them in right away, and they can help and they can contribute. So I think that Julian Champagnie would be perfect for them, because he's another guy off the bench that you can put. He's a wing player. You can have him and Poole be your shot creators off the bench. You'll be fine. So I think him, he'd be a perfect fit for their team. So I have Champagnie going to the Warriors. And then lastly, I have the OKC Thunder taking Harrison Ingram out of Stanford. He's a freshman. He's very young. OKC needs like a younger player because they're rebuilding. He's a forward, but he's a point forward type player. And he's also shown flashes of shooting the ball. He's very young, though. He'll need time to develop, and OKC has nothing but time with their franchise. So, yeah, I have him going to OKC. And that's going to be the end of the mock draft. That was a full first round. We kind of sped through that a little bit. But, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, man. Let me know if you guys want me to do more of these college draft videos, or if you guys just want me to stick to NBA basketball, Heat basketball. And if you guys are a fan of any of these teams, just let me know down in the comment section below what you guys would change. This is literally just my opinion, and this is literally based on the order from Tankathon. So yeah, that's how we're going to be doing it, and that's how we just did it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the mock draft. Hopefully you guys hopefully you guys like these type of videos that we can do in the future. Maybe I will be doing more mock drafts later as well. But that's where we're gonna wrap up the video, man. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And let me know if you guys enjoyed this mock draft. I'll see y'all later as always. Peace.